The police interviewed an ex-boyfriend of Erin's who says Charlie wasn't the first she tried to enlist to kill her family.
They say love conquers all. But for these teenage couples, love conquered conscience, morality, and ultimately, human life. Welcome back to What the Verdict. Today we're diving into the darkest corners of young romance, where puppy love turned into something deadly. These aren't your typical high school relationships. These are killer couples whose twisted bonds led to murder, massacre, and life sentences. From Texas teenagers who annihilated entire families, to star-crossed lovers whose Romeo and Juliet fantasy ended in real blood. These 5 cases will show you how love can become the most dangerous weapon of all. What drives teenage couples to kill together? How does innocent romance transform into calculated murder? The answers will disturb you more than you can imagine. Erin Caffey and Charlie Wilkinson, the family annihilators. Our first case takes us to Alba, Texas, where forbidden teenage love would lead to one of the most brutal family massacres in state history. March 1st, 2008. 16-year-old Erin Caffey was furious. Her devoutly Christian parents, Terry and Penny, had forbidden her relationship with 18-year-old Charlie Wilkinson. They saw him as a bad influence on their honor student daughter. They had no idea that their disapproval had just signed their death warrants. What happened next defied comprehension. Instead of accepting her parents' rules or running away, Erin made a choice that would destroy her entire family. In the early morning hours, Charlie Wilkinson and his friend Charles Wade broke into the Caffey family home while Erin waited outside. The attack was swift and merciless. Penny Caffey and her 2 young sons, Matthew, 13, and Tylar, 8, were shot and stabbed to death in their beds. The violence was so extreme that blood covered the walls and ceiling. But Erin's plan wasn't complete. After confirming her family was dead, the killers set the house on fire to destroy evidence. Terry Caffey, shot multiple times, somehow survived by crawling to a neighbor's home. When police arrived, they discovered the unthinkable. The sole surviving family member immediately identified his own daughter as the mastermind behind the massacre. Charlie Wilkinson and Charles Wade were both sentenced to life in prison without parole. Erin received 2 life sentences plus 25 years. The teenager who chose her boyfriend over her family won't be eligible for parole until 2049. 3 innocent lives lost because a 16-year-old girl couldn't accept her parents' disapproval of her relationship. Tylar, Witt, and Stephen Boston Colver, the star-crossed killers. Our second case brings us to El Dorado Hills, California, where a forbidden romance would end in matricide and a failed suicide pact. June 11th, 2009. 14-year-old Tylar Witt was in love with 19-year-old Stephen Boston Colver. But her mother, Joanne, objected to their relationship, and for good reason. Stephen was legally an adult, dating a middle school student. What Joanne didn't realize was that her interference would cost her life. Tylar and Stephen conspired to kill after Joanne threatened to report their illegal relationship to police. The young couple saw only 2 options: lose each other forever or eliminate the obstacle standing in their way. They chose murder. On that June night, as Joanne Witt slept peacefully in her bed, one or both teens stabbed her 20 times in the upper body. Her throat was slit. The attack was so vicious that her blood soaked through the mattress. But this wasn't just murder. It was supposed to be the first act of a Romeo and Juliet-style suicide pact. Both Stephen and Tylar left incriminating suicide notes, planning to die together after killing Joanne. The plan failed when they lost their nerve. Instead of dying for love, they found themselves facing life sentences for murder. Stephen Colver was sentenced to life without parole. Tylar, who pleaded guilty, received 15 years to life and was granted parole in 2022. Their star-crossed love story ended not in death, but in decades behind bars. Jasmine Richardson and Jeremy Steinke. The Goth Massacre. Our third case crosses into Canada, where a 12-year-old girl and her 23-year-old boyfriend would commit one of North America's most shocking family annihilations. April 23, 2006. 12-year-old Jasmine Richardson had fallen in love with 23-year-old Jeremy Steinke, a gothic metalhead who called himself a 300-year-old werewolf. Their relationship was not only illegal, it was a fantasy built on violence and death. When Jasmine's parents discovered the relationship and tried to end it, the young girl made a chilling decision. Her family had to die. The couple spent weeks planning the massacre online, discussing the murders in chat rooms like they were planning a date. Jasmine told friends she wanted her family dead, so she could be with Jeremy forever. In the early morning hours, Jeremy broke into the Richardson home while Jasmine waited outside. The attack was systematic and brutal. Her parents, Mark and Deborah Richardson, were stabbed multiple times. But the most horrific act was yet to come. Little Jacob Richardson, just 8 years old, had his throat slashed as he slept peacefully in his bed. What makes this case truly disturbing is that Jasmine didn't just plan the murders. She participated in them. Canada's youngest mass murderer had watched as her entire family was butchered for love. As Canada's youngest person ever convicted of multiple murder, Jasmine was sentenced to the maximum penalty for a juvenile, 10 years. She was released in 2012 at age 18. Jeremy Steinke received 3 life sentences and remains behind bars. Today, Jasmine Richardson walks free with a new identity, while 3 members of her family remain buried because a 12-year-old girl chose a fantasy relationship over reality. Judith Neelley and Alvin Neelley, the honeymoon killers. Our fourth case takes us to Georgia and Alabama in 1982, where teenage newlyweds would embark on a killing spree that terrified the South. Judith Adams was just 15 when she married 23-year-old Alvin Neelley in 1980. What began as young love quickly transformed into something far more sinister. A marriage built on violence, manipulation, and eventually, murder. By 1982, the Neelleys had become a killer couple, kidnapping and murdering innocent victims across state lines. Judith, now 18, was no longer just a victim of her husband's influence. She had become an active participant in their deadly crimes. Their most notorious victim was 13-year-old Lisa Ann Milliken, whom they kidnapped from a shopping mall. For 6 days, they tortured the child before Judith injected her with liquid drain cleaner and shot her. The cruelty was incomprehensible. This wasn't a crime of passion or desperation. This was sadistic torture, committed by teenagers who seemed to enjoy their victim's suffering. But Lisa wasn't their only victim. The Neelleys were suspected in multiple disappearances and murders across the Southeast, turning their marriage into a traveling nightmare for innocent families. When finally caught, Alvin died in prison while awaiting trial. Judith was sentenced to death, making her the youngest woman on death row in the United States at age 18. Her sentence was later commuted to life without parole, where she remains today. The teenager who turned marriage into murder will spend the rest of her life behind bars. Gwendolyn Graham and Catherine May Wood, the lethal lovers. Our final case brings us to Walker, Michigan, where 2 young nursing home employees would turn their workplace into a hunting ground. Gwendolyn Graham, 23, and Catherine May Wood, 24, were lovers working as nurses' aides at the Alpine Manor nursing home. What should have been a place of healing became a scene of systematic murder. The couple didn't kill for money, revenge, or even passion. They killed for the thrill of it, targeting the most vulnerable victims imaginable, elderly patients who trusted them with their lives. Their method was suffocation, making their crimes nearly impossible to detect. They would smother patients with towels, then comfort each other afterward, bonding over the shared secret of murder. The killing became a twisted game between the lovers. They planned to spell out M-U-R-D-E-R using the first initials of their victims' names, treating elderly lives like letters in a macabre puzzle. Their relationship wasn't just built on love, it was built on death. Each murder brought them closer together, creating a bond forged in the most evil way imaginable. The killing spree ended when their relationship did. Catherine eventually confessed, leading to both women's arrest for the murders of at least 5 elderly patients. Gwendolyn Graham was sentenced to life without parole and remains imprisoned. Catherine Wood received a lesser sentence due to her cooperation and was eventually released on parole. 2 young women who turned their romantic relationship into a murder partnership, proving that love can be the most dangerous emotion of all. Analysis and reflection. 5 killer couples. 5 different motivations, but all sharing one terrifying truth. When twisted minds find each other, the results can be catastrophic. What transforms teenage romance into lethal partnership? Experts point to several factors: social isolation, shared antisocial tendencies, and the dangerous amplification that occurs when 2 disturbed individuals validate each other's worst impulses. These cases remind us that evil is not always a solitary pursuit. Sometimes, the most dangerous criminals are those who find their perfect match in darkness. 5 teenage couples who chose murder over morality, violence over virtue. Their stories serve as chilling reminders that love can be twisted into something unrecognizable, something deadly. Behind every case are innocent victims whose only crime was being in the wrong place when evil found its perfect match. Let me know in the comments which killer couple's story disturbed you the most. Was it Erin Caffey's family massacre, the star-crossed lovers who killed for teenage romance, or the nursing home killers who turned their workplace into a hunting ground? These stories are difficult to tell, but they need to be told, because understanding evil is the first step to preventing it. Don't forget to subscribe to What the Verdict and hit that notification bell. Next week, we're diving into the most evil teen killers around the world. Cases that make these American tragedies look tame in comparison. Until next time, remember, not all love stories have happy endings. Some end in life sentences.